Welcome to the Musik Spezial. I'm Daniel, and I'm really happy to welcome someone to the show who has got one of the most beautiful first names in the history of mankind. Uh, he's part of a band called Bastille, and his name is Dan. Very warm welcome.
Thank you, man. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Great to have you here. I guess we've got a lot to talk about. There's an album coming up, but before we are talking about that, let's play some sort of guessing game, yeah? Let's pretend it's not the beginning of 2022. Let's pretend it's the beginning of 2023. Tell me the three most important memories you will have made in 2022.
Oh, okay. It was really great when Boris Johnson was unceremoniously fired from being Prime Minister of the UK. The first time it's ever happened like that. There was such a cataclysm of bullshit and lies that, the entire country revolted and kicked him out of office. That was probably the most exciting thing to happen.
You were in the front row, and you were the one who kicked, yeah?
Yeah. I was at the front of the protests. It was really nice that COVID mutated itself into an illness that didn't really kill anyone anymore, and the world opened back up again, and everyone was way nicer to each other, and much more forgiving and patient with everybody. So that was pretty cool. And suddenly all the fossil fuel producers just decided that they could reinvest in green energy, and everybody unanimously decided together that we should make a fucking effort to save the fate of humanity and the planet. And so all in all, 2022 was pretty great. And this band called Bastille released a really good album as well. So things took a real turn that people weren't expecting.
Awesome memories.
Yeah. I hope any of that happens.
yeah, hopefully. Dan, when I prepare for this interview, I watched a Bastille concert. It was in Germany, 2019, Rock am Ring. You wore this yellow, red, black jacket, the colors of Germany. Do you remember those concerts right now, when you're sitting at home? Or is it all just, I've been to concerts in these years, but you don't remember the exact days and situations?
I've always been really obsessed when we're touring with going and doing and seeing things in whatever town we're in, because I think it's important to kind of associate the memory of a place or of a town with the show that you do. In the same way that I will always write a phonetic cheat sheet of a few phrases in whatever language is spoken in the country that we're in, because I think it's, I don't know, it can be easy, I think, if you're in a band or any job where you're traveling all the time and you're doing lots of similar things, to kind of lose track of where you are and when you are and all of that stuff. But I've always really wanted to avoid that cliche, and I love traveling. So it's I've always tried really hard to keep things as distinctive as possible. It's been 2 years since we've toured, and before that we were touring every day for like 7 years. So it's been a really strange change, but I've tried to make the most of the time we've had at home. And
how much do you miss those nights where there are like 80,000 people in front of you?
It's funny, they almost don't feel real to me. I think when we go onto stage, you kind of go into a bit of a zone, and you want it to be great, as you want to perform well, and you want it to be great for the people in the crowd. But it's not real. It's not real life, and it's not my real life. I think for me, touring is about all the other bits in between. The gigs are the most important part, obviously, but like, I think my mind's way of coping with that is to sort of, I don't know, almost pretend it isn't real, because it's so strange. And also, I'm quite a nervous person, and I don't love to be center of attention, and I don't really love to be on stage that much. So I think I probably push it to the back of my mind somewhere, which is weird and maybe not okay, but it means that while gigs have stopped during the pandemic, I've been able to just really enjoy writing music and recording music and writing for other people and writing for other projects, and writing for films. Like, that's been awesome for me. That's the bit that I love the most. And obviously I've missed playing for fans, and I've missed going to festivals. I've missed being at gigs so much. Like, one of my favorite things to do in the world is go and see a show and go see a concert. And it's been very strange that not being a normal part of life for a while, but
Yeah.
you know, it's coming back, and I've been trying to make the most of it and be safe at the same time. So yeah, it's kind of, it's surreal to know we're going to be releasing an album, but we're not, touring as much as we used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hopefully we will. Hopefully we'll be back.
Yeah, when we are back to having concerts, you will have even more to present. Give Me the Future is coming up. Studio album number 4 is finished. What kind of journey was that?
Really interesting one. We started it when we were still touring our third album, Doom Days.
Yeah.
And it was originally a much bigger, more sprawling album, all about kind of escapism and escaping within your dreams and in your head. And then it became a couple of different projects. We separated out an EP, and then we cut the album in half, and we really concentrated on these songs that were obsessed with, like, the future and what the future might be, and the fact that the real life that we live at the moment often feels like a really weird science fiction, and just these strange times we have in our relationship with technology, and how it's completely changed how we live and how we see each other and how we see ourselves and how we interact and the relationships that we have. And I think that's all so interesting. But we also wanted to make a big, bold, fun pop record. So it was really collaborative. Like, time, these last 2 years have been really isolating. We've all been at home and kind of with way less people, but we somehow managed to make an album with other writers and other producers and loads of other musicians and lots of sort of animators and creators and video directors and digital artists and all of these things. So I think just really tried to, the themes of the album were already there before the pandemic, but then living through it as we all have just really kind of heightened all of the stuff we were talking about. And it gave us the time to really concentrate on it. The sounds of the songs have changed and changed and changed. And yeah, I love the album. I really love it. And I'm excited for people to hear the whole thing, 'cause it's a kind of weird,
interesting
journey back and forward in time through all these different worlds.
Interesting how you describe this journey and the length of it. And in the end, you ended up with this 3-year rhythm, 2013, 16, 19, and now it's 2022. So
no, every time we make an album.
Interesting. Why
we have the intentions of doing it in like a year, and every time it takes 3. It's so annoying.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter as long as it's good.
Yeah, I think so. And in amongst all of that, we've made 4 mixtapes and like collaborations and songs for films and like so many different things. But yeah, weirdly, our albums seem to always take that. Like, I set out to put 2 albums out last year.
You already said it. It's like some sort of tribute to these tech times. What is your favorite kind of tech?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, it's all kind of amazingly inspiring and quite sinister at the same time, isn't it? I guess I love anything that keeps me in touch with my friends, my family.
Really? Yeah.
So yeah, like, I feel like something like WhatsApp, which I'm horribly addicted to and have been for like a decade, because when we started touring, it was such an amazing way to be in touch with everyone all the time, and we could be on the other side of the world, but you kind of feel like you're part of the conversation. But it's also the most annoying thing in the world. And but yeah, I don't know, like, that's such a hard question, because it's just part of everything that we do, isn't it? Like, I love the tech that allows me to like watch films at any point, or listen to music at any point, or make music anywhere. Like, I love the tech that has allowed the vaccine to exist and and keeps people alive. Like, this, the tech that allowed Zoom to exist, which I fucking hate Zoom, but also it's the way you hung out with people for 2 years because it was the only choice we had. There's like there's a million examples.
Yeah.
We live in a time where there's like a second space race, but it's only billionaires who get to go to Mars, and that's fucking insane and awful, but like kind of fascinating to watch. It feels like we're living through like Austin Powers or something stupid. Like, it's it's bizarre.
Give us some insights on how Bastille worked these days. Who said, let's do an album? What were the first step, the first moment you remembered on this journey?
That's a good question. I think we just started writing loads of songs. I'm always writing. and I write by myself. I go songwriting for other people. Um, so ideas are always kind of floating around. And I think we'd done an EP and we'd done a bunch of songs, and then it kind of just seemed like a good idea to do another album. But we were determined for it to be really different to the last three. The last three I wrote by myself and co-produced with Mark, and the other guys in the band like played on the tracks, but it was very sort of close, tight knit group of people. And I think we just thought, for us to be developing and to be interesting and to try new things, we have to bring other people into the equation and force ourselves to evolve a bit. So there was a real like spirit of collaboration at the beginning, which was probably really good for us. It was really good for me.
Yeah.
Because I think bearing the responsibility of everything all the time is a lot.
You also worked with Ryan Tedder, who's some sort of genius, I assume. And at least he worked with some very known people like Adele, Ed Sheeran, J-Lo. What kind of spice did he add to the Bastille sound?
Well, he was just a really good pair of ears. Like we play him music and he'd say, that's a good one, that's a good one. And then we would then go and work on those songs. We co-wrote and co-produced a song called Distorted Light Beam with him. And yeah, he just pushed it to be as kind of like electronic and dark as possible, which was really cool. Like that, I love that song. And it a few other songs on the album then clicked into place and we kind of changed things a bit. So he was really helpful. He came in quite late in the process and really was just a pair of ears to listen to stuff. And our taste is not always the same, but he's very good at what he does. So it was really good to have someone to listen to, because when you're making an album, you can kind of lose yourself a bit in your process, and it's always nice to have someone new come in and listen. But we also worked with Ramia Koob, who's an amazing Swedish writer who lives in LA, and he wrote like Hit Me Baby One More Time for Britney Spears. Yeah. And he did like the Chromatica album for Gaga, and he's done loads of really interesting stuff as well. And maybe isn't someone that you'd expect Bastille to work with, but I've written songs with him for other people and he's so good. And the whole world of songwriting is fascinating to me because it's kind of new. Like I love it and I love being a songwriter for other people, but it's all kind of new to me and it's new to Bastille. So I think with this album, it was about like inviting people that we respect into the process to try and bring something out of me. To push me to make our songs different. If there was a bit in a chorus where I was like, this sounds like a Bastille chorus, what can we do to make it, to twist it, to make it a bit different? Speak to Rami or speak to Ryan and get their thoughts and get them to be like, oh, how about you try this? And I'd be like, oh yeah, cool, that's good. I would never have done that, but that's cool. So it was all really helpful.
This is so interesting, but I guess we have to speed up a bit. Tell me about Shut Off the Lights. It's a single coming out on Friday. What is this song about?
So Shut Off the Lights is about basically being in bed with someone, but in your head, your mind is whirring into your anxieties and into your worries about the future and the world and all of that shit. And it's the person you're in bed with being like, wait, snap out of it. Come back into this, be present, be physical, be here. Like it's about in and amongst the weirdness of modern life and technology and phones and everything. It's about like putting that all away and just being intimate with somebody. And I wanted it to be really fun and, just sort of try and capture that sense of closeness with the person. And it kind of nods towards Paul Simon's Graceland, which is an album that I love, and obviously all of the kind of amazing Afrobeat and African music that inspired that album for him. So yeah, it was really fun to put together. A bunch of our live touring crew were in the studio one day last year when we were recording the song, and we asked them to all sing the chorus. So it's quite fun for us that all of our crew are on that song. And yeah, we've got our friend John G, who's an amazing musician. He sort of does this amazing saxophone solo coming into the last chorus. It's just, it's kind of fun and it makes me want to dance. And I think it's infectious when people hear it, because the album is all really upbeat. It's really upbeat, but it's also quite dark. Yeah. And there are some moments where, it's pretty like apocalyptic. So it's nice to have a song that's kind of grounded in reality and grounded in like a bed. And it's, it's a fun tune.
Do you have like a really funny anecdote from the producing of this album, like a story you can tell? Which was the best moment in this 2.5 year journey?
God, good question. I mean, it was such a mad process of like me in this room writing songs late at night on Zoom with people in America, and then cycling from here across London to our studio every day to work on songs with Mark. Mark, our producer, his wife went back to Australia for a while, so he was stuck in the UK by himself in the middle of a pandemic. He was sleeping on the floor of the studio. And one day he came back and he had a camp bed laid out, and this little mouse was on his bed, and he was like, "For fuck's sake, are you joking?" His wife was on a beach in Australia, and he was sleeping at work, being roommates with a mouse. But yeah, I mean, there were loads of amazing moments. Like I said, when the crew came in and sang on Shut Off the Lights, when Jack plays this amazing piano solo in the middle of No Bad Days, like that's a really beautiful moment. Getting Riz Ahmed to do a whole track on the album, like he's an actor and a rapper that we were obsessed with, and we sent him the whole album, and he kind of responded to it with this poem, which we wanted to make a whole track. And it just sums up really perfectly loads of the themes. I loved making the song Plug In on the album, which is this kind of like hard auto-tuned rant about how fucking weird the world is and the present day, with this huge string arrangement. So we kind of brought in elements of the reorchestrated tours that we've been doing and pulled them into this album. There's a song called Back to the Future, which obviously is based on the film, but it's also about the world being completely fucked. And we somehow managed to make a sort of upbeat disco bop anthem using the darkest parts of what's happening in the world at the moment. It was a nice excuse to just reference loads of science fiction films and books and pop culture moments that we love. And I mean, Thelma and Louise also nods to that like amazing film from the 90s. And there's a song called Club 57 that's about Keith Haring in the New York art scene in the 80s that I love. So there's like, the album's mad. It time travels all over the place, and there's the whole thing finishes with the song that's a kind of crazy future gospel jam called Future Holds, where I basically give the microphone to our friend Bim, who's an amazing singer, and she just takes it over. She's like, "Hold my beer, I've got this." She finishes the whole album for us. I'm really excited that's coming out. We're super proud of it. Yeah.
Dan, thank you very much for the interview. I was allowed to listen to the album already, and I really love the energy. So thank you very much for the music.
Thanks so much, man. It's good to see you.
Bye-bye.